Oh god. Oh god, what did I do? Oh no! No, what did I do? Oh, the mouse is all wrong now. Oh. This is still a supported release. Ooh, a new version of Ubuntu is available and it keeps changing places every 2 seconds. Thanks for that. G'day folks, Jordan here with another software overview video. Today we're looking at Ubuntu 14.04 long-term support, Trusty Tahr, released on the 17th of April 2014. This was Canonical's 5th major long-term support release, and it's also their 20th concurrent Ubuntu release, fun fact. And interestingly, in the next release, 14.10, we will be talking about Ubuntu's 10th anniversary release, and, well, I'll just leave it for the rest of the video. I don't really want to put any kind of teasers. So, without further ado, let's jump right in to talk about what's new with Ubuntu 14.04 long-term support. So the first thing that I should discuss is the support. Now, as you know, and this is to no exception, this is a long-term support Ubuntu release. And as such, it is equipped with many years of support. Now, what's interesting is that the making of this video, which is November 8, 2018, this still gets support. This 14.04 long-term support release is still getting support until the 30th of April 2019, which is pretty good. And after that date, the paid Ubuntu Advantage Customer Extended Security will then begin, which will more than likely end the extended Advantage Security support for Advantage customers that are on 12.04 LTS. So then they can, well, obviously upgrade distributions. But that's pretty good. I'm not going to lie, that is some very impressive support for a Linux distribution, which nowadays, honestly, I don't think the support is long enough. Like, 9 months is not really all that long of a support period for a particular distribution. I like the old way, where it was 18 months. But I suppose there is a new release coming out every 6 months. You don't want to be supporting your older releases for almost 2 years when there is a new concurrent release every 6 months. It's not like the old days where you had 18 months of support per release, back when not everybody had an internet connection, or a reliable internet connection for that matter, and sometimes they had to get new upgrades in on CDs. So I mean, maybe then I can see why, but I still do think personally that 9 months is just a little bit too short. So Mark Shuttleworth, with this release, talked about that there was a different focus for this development cycle, characterizing this release with performance, refinement, maintainability, and a catch-up on technical debt, to put it that way. And he also encouraged developers with this release to make conservative choices. Now, technical debt, to drill into the topic a little bit more for those who are not aware, since that's not a term thrown around every day. Basically, technical debt refers to catching up and refining supporting work for earlier changes. So, for example, let's talk about Apple's iOS, which in iOS 11, there was a bunch of new features and a lot of cool things, but unfortunately, the OS was plagued with performance problems, plagued with bugs, battery life problems, you name it, security holes to add on to the top of it, too. So basically, iOS 12, as we see it today, was basically the technical debt catch-up release, because they're fixing all of the problems that they created ever since iOS 11, maybe 10, 9, and 8, and whatnot. And what they're doing is refining the code they already have. So they're not making very many changes, they're just fixing what is broken. And this year, especially with iOS 12, oh my god, I will take that over new features, because iOS 11 was so badly broken it wasn't even funny. And my iPhone 6s had terrible battery life during that time. In fact, so much so I had to get a new battery because it was throttled so badly that my phone was essentially slideshow city. But that's another topic for another day. But needless to say, this is essentially the kind of example that I'm bringing up to sort of discuss that's what was going on with Ubuntu 14.04 with the technical debt. They were just playing catch up with a bunch of the features that they released and fixing them so that way they were more functional. So because of this, well, the Unity 8 desktop environment was not released. Yeah, you'll see that in a later release, of course, but in this one, there is a developer preview of Unity 8. Unity 7 is still the default. And to put it on top of that, Mir was still not included. Of course, Mir was supposed to be a replacement to Xorg, which is still used in this release as the default Windows Server Manager. So Unity 7 and Xorg are still the default. So because of that, of course, minimal changes to the UI were made. Now, I guess we'll find out when Unity 8 is released in a later release, but as of right now, and in a couple of subsequent releases, you'll see that development cycle kind of slows down, and it's not going to become nearly as interesting as these older releases might have been. Now, just because there wasn't a great big visual overhaul in this release doesn't mean that there were some good new features. Because, of course, this is a long-term support release that we're talking about here. There had to have been some good new features in order to justify the upgrade, especially in a long-term support-based installation environment. For example, if your computer has a solid-state drive, you'd have trim support. Yay! Now, if you don't know what SSD trim is, look it up online, and I'm pretty certain you're going to find many documents that discuss SSD trim, because I'm not even going to try to begin to go into that in this video. And besides, it's not even related to this video anyway. I just talk about what's really significantly new. So, that is new. In addition to what's also new, well, 14.04 introduced the ability to turn off the global menu system, and it then used locally integrated menus for individual applications. And I believe what this is talking about was the global menu system. You know, in the earlier releases of Unity and Ubuntu in general, you know that menu system that was up on the top of the screen and that was really confusing, and for most people they didn't know where the hell the menus were? Well, this release changed that and put the menu bars back into the individual applications. Thank God. Now, really the only major OS that has been able to pull it off for so long with this global menu system, as you can obviously see, is Mac OS, because it's pretty much had it since the beginning in 1984. And, you know, it's what many, many, many programs have used over the last 30 plus years with Macintosh operating systems, because it's always been there, and that's really what defines the operating system, is this menu bar. So, you know, for other operating systems that have had a different menu system for so long, and you also kind of make it to where it's hidden, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, macOS, while it looks a little busy up there, I like it, because I know where the menus are because they're not hidden, unlike in Ubuntu. So, yeah, that's a nice welcome change. I know I kind of harped on that a bit, but I wanted to talk about that because, God, back in the day when that hidden menu system was a thing, people were confused as hell, and, you know, that didn't help out with trying to introduce Unity with these hidden menu bars, you know. Just didn't make sense. In addition, there was also a couple of new things with regards to GNOME, such as a new GNOME Control Center, which was called Unity Control Center, which we will hopefully get to take a look at when we start this OS up. And in addition, GNOME 3.10 is installed by default, so a slightly updated version of GNOME. Nice stuff to have, basically. Now, to steer it a little bit, we want to talk about some of the new things that were introduced with regards to mobile, because of course, as I've showed briefly in a couple of the previous videos, mobile started to take off around the turn of 2013 to 2014 with Ubuntu. And in this release, they introduced new tablet interfaces for tablets such as the Google Nexus 7 and Google Nexus 10, which were out at the time, about 2013-2014. So, that was pretty cool. Now, I don't have a functional Nexus 7 to show off this interface. I do actually have a Nexus 7 tablet, but the USB port board is broken, and that's a common failure with the first-gen Nexus 7 tablets. Unfortunately, mine, or the one I have, has been plagued by that. So, unfortunately, I'm not able to charge the battery and or install this Ubuntu Touch interface on it for demonstration purposes. So, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to show that. And in case anybody's interested in the Ubuntu Touch interface, you can probably find images of that online for viewing pleasure, I guess. I don't know what else to say. So to kind of wrap up all the new changes and features, one thing that is worth noting is in 14.04.5, there was an update to the Linux kernel that actually updated it to the same kernel as 16.04 LTS, which is a good thing. Because as you know, the Linux kernel is basically what controls everything about the whole operating system. Drivers and window managers and all that sort of stuff, that's all running within the Linux kernel. And to have an updated version of the Linux kernel in a long-term support release over time is good to keep hardware running properly and keep your software up to date and running smoothly. It's just good to have a newer, updated Linux kernel. And finally, to wrap up all of the new features, there was a redesigned USB startup disk creator tool. Exciting, but still good to see nonetheless. So let's dive into the website, shall we? Well, I didn't want to have to make this clip, but I have to. Now, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to properly take a look at the website for today's Ubuntu release, which is unfortunate because this website, well, I would wish it would load because it had a pretty sweet looking background, but every link that I've tried to load that is prevalent to Ubuntu 14.04 LTS either looks like this, where you get all this cryptic crap and it's just all broken HTML, or let's say I go to the 18th and then none of the images load. See, again, the same thing here, broken HTML formatting just doesn't work right. We can try the 19th, sure, I think I tried that one too, and it looks like this, where, I mean, some things are there, but it's still a mostly broken mess. I suppose we could try the 420 day, because, hey, 420, let's see if that makes it work, right? Right? Probably not. Yep, no. Well, that's unfortunate. I really wanted to take a look at the website, but unfortunately it looks like we aren't going to get that luxury today. But I suppose the operating system in and of itself is probably more important, so we'll just move on to that. Now for this test, I thought we'd try UEFI mode, because by this point, UEFI should be refined enough that we should just be able to jump right in. So hopefully it all works out. I have not tried this, so this is probably going to either go really well or really badly. Well, hopefully not really badly. Forgot to put it in full screen. Alright, and here we are. Now, it does look a little bit visually different. For one, the background's different, but we'll see that once we get installed. The buttons look a little different. Instead of having that glowing orange accent color, it's now subdued in gray until you actually click on it. Now, since this is a supported OS release, I am going to go through the problem of downloading the updates, since I can still download them. And since I had really good luck with Ubuntu 12.04 LTS, well, I should be able to have even better luck with Ubuntu 14.04 LTS, since it's still being supported. So we're just going to make a up-to-date installation for this video. Now, this is the first release that talked about what it was actually going to write to your disk. Before, it just did it, and you had to make sure that what you had selected was good to go. But this was the first release, at least as far as I'm aware, that actually notified you of what it was going to do to your disk before it did it. So that's a nice change. Essentially, modern-day Linux installations look identical to how this one is. This one pretty much is the standard for most Ubuntu derivatives, pretty much starting with this release, to put it that way. Alright, and here we have the Trusty Tahr logo on top of the background, which looks pretty neat, I shall say so myself. But I believe everything else here in the slideshow is practically the same thing that we've seen before. No sense in sitting here reading about it, because it's literally all the same. So I'm going to go ahead and time-lapse ahead to the login screen, and I will resume there. Now, I swear I think some of the icons look a little bit different. In particular, the accessibility icon is not blue anymore. But either way, it seems like pretty much everything else looks the same for the most part. So we're just going to go ahead and log on in here. And we're actually going to install VMware Tools since this is still a supported release. Ooh, a new version of Ubuntu is available, and it keeps changing places every 2 seconds. Thanks for that. A new version of Ubuntu is available. Oh, right. In this release, they gave you the keyboard shortcuts front and center to show you how you do the HUD and the menu bar and so on and so forth. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. But we are not going to upgrade right now. We're just going to go ahead and say ask me later for the moment. And, well, I'll do all that other stuff after the video. I'll do all the software updates after the video, I suppose, once we show off all the main stuff and talk about whatever. Because this is still up to date, so I imagine it's probably going to have an up-to-date release of Firefox once I run all the software updates. Of course, it's out of date right now. I don't even know what release it's running. What is it running? Oh, it's still got the menu bar up there. Duh. I instinctively went up there to touch it, of course. Firefox 44, so that must have been the standard version for 14.04.5. And then LibreOffice looks about the same as it does nowadays. And what version does it have? It has version 4.2.8.2, copyright 2014. Very nice. So I imagine, well, I guess we'll go into the control center here real quick, and we'll take a look at it since it was new, supposedly. And I think it pretty much looks the same. Yep. Software updates. Yes, I'm fully aware of that. Obviously, Firefox is going to get updated probably to the latest release, which is 63.0.1. I will do that here in a bit. But everything looks about as good as you would expect it to. Maybe some slightly tweaked icons, but otherwise it looks pretty much the same. The dash looks a little bit different, I guess. Has a nice little transparent design. You can kind of see the background through it. It still has this clumsy method of the app installation, which, you know, kind of hides all your apps behind this one little installed menu. I mean, that's not my biggest forte. I mean, I guess it works. And we got more suggestions here. Now, I believe when we install all these updates, we should be able to just straight up download these. So, I wonder what else we can take a look at. I suppose, let's make this a big video, because the last one was very, very short. I didn't look at anything, so let's check out this Landscape service. Landscape is an easy-to-use commercial systems management and monitoring service offered by Canonical that helps administrators manage multiple machines efficiently. Interesting. Probably not anything I'm going to make use of, so we'll just move on. Of course, I got all the LibreOffice programs. I'm in a remote desktop client. I wonder if that supports like VNC, because it'd be kind of interesting to VNC into my MacBook, which is currently being used as my server. So I almost wonder if one of these would connect to it. Yeah, I'll pretty much give up on the client for now, just because it's not working. I'm probably doing something wrong, and that's okay, because I probably didn't need to use it anyway. I'm already like doing screen sharing with my server, so I don't need to be sitting here doing VNC and slowing the whole thing down. It's not exactly the smartest thing to do, and I don't really need to be VNCing into it because it's working just fine. Let's check out the Software Center. I haven't opened that in a while. Ooh, SuperTux. I almost wonder if we can make use of that. Should be able to install it and have something to play around with once I get the VMware Tools running, because then I'll have OpenGL support and I'll have all the necessary drivers, I hope, to make everything function properly. And as you can see, no error message because this distro is still supported. So everything still works. Magic, right? Alright, and there we go. So that's installed. Very cool. I'm a little curious to try some other things, but I'm not going to make that the primary focus of this video. Let's see what backgrounds there actually are, because I'm kind of curious. Got some pretty nice ones in here, like the water web. We got the beach. Ooh, I actually really like that one. I think I'm going to leave that one. But, yeah, which one did I use for my thumbnail? I don't even remember now. There's probably some hidden wallpaper that I forgot that I set that I used for my thumbnail. So, yeah, I'm really that smart. But I'm going to leave it set to the beach because I think that looks really nice. And I like having beach wallpapers. They just look fantastic. And this one is most certainly no exception. So let me quit on my screen sharing thing real quick for my MacBook. And I think that's pretty much all we're going to be able to see. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to enable the Unity 8 interface. I'm not sure if that's something that you can still enable in 14.04 long-term support at this point in time, but I imagine that... Oh, there was a trigger for showing the menu in the window title bar. I just didn't do that. Whoops. Well, I guess too late now. I already went through all the stuff, so whoops. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and off camera install all the updates because they need to be run. And it looks like there was... I swear I thought I saw something in there. I'm looking at things that I shouldn't be looking at. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and run through these. Oh, that looks very similar, the UI at least, to like the older Mac software update panel. If anybody used like Snow Leopard or Lion, they would know exactly what I'm talking about with this. This looks very similar. So, alright, well I'm going to run these and I'll be right back. Okay, so I am back, and unfortunately, VMware Tools has been an interesting mixed bag. See, the thing is, with 14.04 and above, VMware themselves recommend that you use this thing called Open VMware Tools, and I'm not entirely sure how to install that and get it configured. Now, I'm not going to turn this into some kind of Linux tech support video because I don't need any of that. I'm just trying to demonstrate a distribution, but I thought it would have been kind of nice to have full 1920 by 1080 resolution working for this next clip. But as you can see, I'm in 1920 by 1200, which letterbox is my output in the VM, which is annoying. And of course, the highest resolution that I can go is 1360 by 768 to keep the same 16 by 9 aspect ratio, which, you know, it works, but it's very fuzzy. Now, I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, but clearly something didn't work because if I were to boot up my Ubuntu 12.04 LTS VM, the Xorg stuff is working just fine, and I can set the resolution to 1920 by 1080, and it just works. So I'm not sure what's going on and what's causing this not to work, but I'm not going to bother spending too much time on it. But hey, this works, right? I don't even know how you control this game. Let's get past the intro here. I don't know. Okay, it's basically your Super Mario clone thing. Oh, there's sound latency. Turn that down a bit. There's definitely some sound latency. Oh my goodness. See, can I jump up in there? Nope, not quite yet. Or maybe I gotta get a running start at it. Come on, go! Get up there. Or not. Oh well. Oh well, I tried. Anyway, that's probably enough for this, so before I get into it too much, because it's bound to happen if I do this, so, alright, come on. Let me abort. Alright. Okay. Oh god. Oh god, what did I do? Oh no! No, what did I do? Oh, the mouse is all wrong now. Oh. See, this is the kind of crap you have to deal with in Linux, where crap just doesn't work. Oh. God, no. No. No, 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 no. Oh. Sudo reboot now. That did not work at all. That did not work at all. I think the Retina resolution had probably something to do with that, if I had to guess, because that worked beautifully. Anyway. But that'll go ahead and wrap it up for this video. Oh god, everything is so absolutely tiny now. I'm going to have fun fixing that. But anyway, that's it for Ubuntu 14.04 LTS. I appreciate you all coming to watch, and I'll see you all in the next one.